It has been announced that August's Research Quest Reward Pokemon is going to be Raikou. So Snorlax is leaving us, Raikou is coming in. Now, for most trainers, this is an extremely great opportunity to get Raikou, and I imagine a lot of people are raring to power up their first ever Raikou, or maybe a subsequent second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth Raikou. In this video, I'm going to be advocating for you to not power up Raikou, or at the very least, consider the points I'm going to make before you choose to power up Raikou. I want to start by clarifying that I don't control how you play the game, and my crystal ball sometimes doesn't tell the complete picture of what's going to go on in the future, but pretty good ideas if you want to save Stardust and maximize the use of it for powering up your Pokemon and having the best Pokemon squads for, the least amount of Stardust cost. So the central argument I have for this, why you should not power up Raikou, is because I feel Raikou's days have come and gone. When Raikou first came out, it was the optimal answer to the Vaporeon raid, the Suicune raid, the Lugia raid, and was extremely good against Solar Beam Ho-Oh. When we got Gen 3, Kyogre, who was the best answer but Raikou, especially when you consider that Blizzard Kyogre, which made everything drop like flies, except for Raikou. Well, since then, we've gotten Frenzy Plant Venusaur and Alolan Exeggutor as optimal counters to Water-type Pokemon using Water-type attacks. They're so good that you may as well not use Raikou. Now, using Raikou isn't a bad idea. It's still one of the most optimal Water-type counters, but between Frenzy Plant Venusaur and Alolan Exeggutor, you really don't need him. As far as Lugia and Ho-Oh go, we now have Alolan Golem, which is a surprisingly good counter to both of those Pokemon. We also have, more importantly, Smackdown Tyranitar. It was so good, you may as well not power up Raikou, right? Now, Raikou is still the best versus Lugia, but what I'm saying here is that Tyranitar and Golem and Alolan Golem are so good that you may as well not power up a Raikou if this is the specific purpose that you have for powering up Raikou. Now, against Kyogre, things are still looking good against the Blizzard set, but as with the other Pure Water type raids, Frenzy Plant Venusaur and Alolan Exeggutor are just there to harass Raikou around every corner. In the current raid meta, there's no real call to power up Raikou either. None of the raid bosses that are out right now really call for Raikou, and right now we've got the Registeel raid. Predictively, we're going to have Regirock next, and then we also have that Moltres raid coming in, all of which really don't call for Raikou. In the short term and overall, I feel like Raikou is no longer the supreme investment for Stardust as it used to be in the past. Now, another argument for not powering up Raikou is that Gen 4 is coming on soon. We actually just recently got a leak/rumor. It's a vetted rumor, so it might be true, right? You guys know the drill. That Electivire will be coming to us soon through an event in Pokemon Go. Now, if you've read past analyses done by the Game Press team and myself about Electivire, Electivire has the potential to reach the DPS of Raikou, if not exceed it. Along with that, Magnezone, the evolved form of Magneton in Gen 4, whenever it decides to show up, it might not have the DPS of Raikou, but its tankiness is going to be exceptional, and with its defensive typing, it's going to be able to tackle a lot of roles that Raikou now currently excels in with all the competition from grass types and rock types. It's going to be tankier in those roles. So do you want to use Raikou, or do you want to use this budget option? Maybe less DPS, but certainly much more survivable in the fight. It's up to you guys. We also have Luxray coming, but I don't think Luxray will power creep. Well, to illustrate the risk that these Gen 4 Pokemon pose, I decided to graph them out against the Blizzard Kyogre raid. Alright, so this is a graph of the Blizzard Kyogre raid, and these are all level 40 counters, unless otherwise stated, against the Blizzard Kyogre raid, no dodging, and I used a great friendship tier since that's a reasonable expectation for people to have at this point in Pokemon Go. You can see this yellow line shows the advantage of Raikou from level 37 to 31 to 27. I decided to use Raikou's pre-bulk points, which means after one more power-up, Raikou would become much more tanky in this fight, just to illustrate the differences between the counters and Raikou's different levels. So here on the right we have Magnezone, Magneton's evolved form, with Wild Charge, Thunderbolt, and Zap Cannon. Up here, we have Electivire with Wild Charge, Thunderbolt, and Thunder Punch. And then off to the left, we have Wild Charge Luxray. All three of these Pokemon have Thunder Shock, which is a reasonable expectation for an electric type to have. They might have Spark. Yeah, they could get unfortunate and get Volt Switch. We'll have to see what happens when the smoke clears, but the most important indicator for success or damage potential in these fights really comes down from the charge moves more than anything else. So Wild Charge is their best case scenario, the most powerful electric type attack in the game. If Magnezone were to get Wild Charge, its total damage output and DPS would just be a hair away from the level of a maxed out level 40 Raikou. Electivire, on the other hand, won't have the total damage output / tankiness of these two Pokemon, but it will have higher DPS than Raikou, provided it gets Wild Charge and Thunderbolt. As far as the third Wild Charge Pokemon, Luxray, it's only as good as Thunder Shock, Thunderbolt, Zapdos, so yeah, things aren't looking too hot for it, so I decided to cut off my little foray into it there. Sorry, Luxray. So yeah, Wild Charge would be their best case scenario, but they might not get Wild Charge. Just like with Metagross, these Pokemon could get somewhat shafted by what moves Niantic decides to give it. So the most reasonable step down from Wild Charge, in my opinion, is Thunderbolt. And Thunderbolt is very similar to Discharge in performance. They're basically identical, so you could also think of Thunderbolt as representing what their Discharge moveset would look like. Thunderbolt Magnezone is still extremely good, very tanky. This is actually more tanky or higher TDO than a maxed out Ho-Oh, which isn't included on this graph. It's got like 12 DPS and is somewhere around here, right? So even with Thunderbolt, Magnezone would still be an exceptional electric type Pokemon. As far as Electivire goes, it's going to lose the DPS advantage on the maxed out Raikou, but it's still leagues better than other Pokemon that people strongly consider for this fight. Groudon, Latios, Mewtwo really don't compare to a Thunderbolt Electivire in this fight. Now, as far as Zap Cannon and Thunder Punch go, those are the reasonable alternatives that I'm quite convinced Niantic is going to give them. With my knowledge of the Pokemon franchise, Zap Cannon is an attack that I can almost guarantee you is going to be on Magnezone, for better or for worse, and Thunder Punch is going to very likely be a move that Electivire gets. If you're not familiar, a lot of the promotional Electivires back in Gen 4 had all three elemental punches and cross chop. So I'm pretty convinced that Electivire in Pokemon Go is going to follow suit in some way, but this is a completely different game, run by a completely different company, so we'll probably be crossing that bridge when we get there. We'll see in the coming weeks, months, what actually happens with these electric types. In these worst case scenarios, Zap Cannon on Magnezone is still doing extremely good compared to other alternative counters to the Blizzard Kyogre fight. Maybe not as cool as Raikou, seeing how it's only comparable to maybe a level 31 Raikou, depending on what you value. But still a very good option to the point where Raikou is no longer as mandatory as it used to be for the Blizzard Kyogre fight. Electivire, on the other hand, kind of really wants Wild Charge, Thunderbolt, or Discharge, or it's going to be kind of mediocre as an electric type. So fingers crossed for Electivire to get a good moveset. Magnezone is going to be great any way you cut it. Just kind of substantiating that in this one fight that Raikou is still the lord of, these Gen 4 Pokemon will likely creep on it and make it less important of a Pokemon for this fight. Speaking of Gen 4, we also have to consider the Gen 4 legendary raids that we're most likely going to experience and, appraise the raid fighting meta viability of our Pokemon now to those raids that we will experience in the future. Man, that was a really complicated way to say something simple. I am so sorry. I'm not retaking it though. Right, so yeah, we got the Lake Trio. You can think of these as being the legendary birds or the legendary beasts of Gen 4. And yeah, they're all Psychic type. All three of them. Psychic type Pokemon. Then we've got the three Dragons of Creation to consider. All Dragon type. All resist Electric. Except for Palkia here, who's a Dragon Water type, but because Dragon resists, kind of neutralizes. You'd be much better off using a Dragon-type Pokemon to counter Palkia than Raikou. We got Arceus over here, and Arceus is probably going to be treated like a Mythic-type Pokemon. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Arceus. Its base type is normal, but it can have any type in the game, so there could be Water or Flying-type Arceuses roaming around out there when Arceus happens. But if it is a raid boss, the Water types will have to deal with Alolan Exeggutor and Frenzy Plant Venusaur, and the Flying types have to deal with Smackdown Tyranitar and our two different flavors of Golem. So Raikou, probably really good there, but do you need it? Probably not. Then we got Cresselia and Darkrai, and I'm not sure how Niantic's going to handle them. Maybe they'll be straight raid bosses, maybe they'll be mythical discoveries. I think they were originally mythic, but then they got reclassified as legendary in future games because you could obtain them in game without an event. Right, that's a mouthful, but at the end of the day, both of them are not weak to electric, psychic, and dark. So yeah, you got Heatran here, that's Steel and Fire, aka not weak to Raikou, and then you got Regigigas, which is normal type, which is not weak to Raikou. And then Shaman, which is probably going to be a mythical discovery type Pokemon, but if it is a raid, it's a grass type. It has an alternate form that's a grass flying type, but grass resists electric, so just like the Palkia scenario up here, Raikou will very likely not be the ideal counter to that fight. Not included on this MS Paint pasty I put together here is Manaphy and Fion, which are both water-type Pokemon. They're both mythical discovery candidate-looking Pokemon like Mew and Celebi are, but they are pure water-type, which means that you got Venusaur and Alolan Exeggutor. So yeah, right? So things aren't looking too hot for Raikou in the future. So yeah, overall, Raikou is a great, excellent Pokemon, and if you really do want to power one up, it's going to be excellent at what it does. Any water-type raids come around, you can always count on Raikou. If you want to fight a gym, Raikou is an extremely good gym counter. But if you're like, man, Raikou's going to answer all my problems if I power it up, or man, I want to power up like my 4th, 5th, 6th Raikou, and now I'm getting some more, you might want to hold off on that, right? Don't let me dissuade you super hard if Raikou's your favorite Pokemon. I'm just letting you guys know that Raikou is not as hot as it used to be. Raikou isn't not, but it's not like, it's not Machamp, it's not Mewtwo, it's not Tyranitar, it's just Raikou now. It's no longer like Raikou, it's just Raikou. It's cool, but not that big of a deal. Yeah, so if you got any questions on this content, comment below, let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. And if you like this content and you want to see more like it, well then make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. If you're interested in what comes up next, I'm going to be doing a Gen 4 analysis that's going to look at Rhyperior, Magmortar, and Electivire a little bit more closely, and I'll have more Gen 4 analyses to come going forward. So if you're interested in that, subscribe. And if you think I'm pretty, subscribe. SwagTips. Yeah, I'm not telling you that Raikou's a bad Pokemon. I'm just saying that if you're thinking it's hot, it's not that hot. It's like, it's kind of warm. It's great, but not that hot. Might want to wait until there's a reason to power up and use a Raikou before you do power up Raikou.